Twinklish kids, it's twinkle time. In a vast forest, a wise old bird watched over the trees and animals. This is the story of how wisdom and foresight can prevent disaster. One day, a group of birds found a large pile of grain under a tree. Excited by the feast, they began eating greedily. The wise old bird, perched nearby, warned them, "This grain is a trap. Leave it alone and find food elsewhere." But the birds ignored the warning, too tempted by the easy meal. Suddenly, a net dropped from above, trapping the birds. They chirped in panic, realizing too late that they should have listened to the wise old bird. The hunter approached, pleased with his catch. The wise old bird, watching from a distance, sighed and flew away, knowing that wisdom had been ignored. The moral of the story is that wisdom and foresight are invaluable. Listening to wise advice can save you from potential dangers. In a quiet village, two cats often quarreled over food. This is the story of how their greed and lack of cooperation led to their loss. One day, the two cats found a piece of bread. Both wanted it for themselves, and a fierce argument ensued. Unable to resolve their dispute, they decided to seek help from a wise monkey. The monkey, seeing an opportunity, agreed to help. "I will divide the bread equally," he said. He broke the bread into two pieces, but one piece was slightly larger. "This isn't equal," said the monkey. He took a bite from the larger piece to make them even. But now the other piece was larger, so he took a bite from that one too. This went on until there was no bread left. The cats realized too late that they had been tricked and left empty-handed. The moral of the story is that greed and quarrels can lead to loss. It's better to share and cooperate than to fight over possessions. By a serene pond, a foolish crane lived alongside a cunning mongoose. This is the story of how greed and jealousy can lead to one's downfall. The crane was envious of the mongoose, who was praised for his intelligence. Seeking to prove his worth, the crane decided to catch a fish bigger than any the mongoose had ever seen. One day, the crane spotted a large fish. He quickly caught it and brought it to the shore, proud of his catch. But the mongoose, seeing the crane's success, decided to teach him a lesson. The mongoose approached the crane and said, "What a magnificent fish! But have you ever tried the fruits of the forest? They are even more delicious." The foolish crane, eager to outdo the mongoose, left the fish and flew to the forest in search of fruits. While he was away, the mongoose ate the fish and left the bones behind. When the crane returned, he found nothing but bones. Realizing he had been tricked, the crane felt ashamed of his greed and jealousy. The moral of the story is that envy and greed can lead to one's own downfall. It's important to be content with what you have and not be swayed by jealousy. In a dense forest, four unlikely friends, a deer, a crow, a rat, and a tortoise, lived in harmony. This is the story of how their friendship and teamwork saved their lives. One day, the deer got caught in a hunter's trap. Frightened, he called out for help. The crow, flying overhead, spotted the trapped deer and alerted the rat and the tortoise. The rat hurried to the scene and began gnawing at the ropes that held the deer. Meanwhile, the tortoise slowly made his way to offer moral support. Just as the rat freed the deer, the hunter arrived. Seeing the deer free, the hunter tried to capture the tortoise. The deer, crow, and rat quickly devised a plan. The deer pretended to be injured to distract the hunter, while the crow created a diversion. The rat gnawed at the ropes that the hunter used to tie the tortoise, setting him free. All four friends escaped into the forest, their bond stronger than ever. The moral of the story is that true friends stand by each other in times of need. Teamwork and loyalty can overcome even the greatest dangers. In a dry and barren land, a thirsty crow searched desperately for water. This is the story of how ingenuity and patience can solve even the toughest problems. One hot summer's day, the crow came across a pitcher with a little water at the bottom. Despite his best efforts, he couldn't reach the water with his beak. Tired but determined, the crow thought for a moment. He then began picking up small pebbles and dropping them into the pitcher, one by one. Slowly, the water level rose, until it was high enough for the crow to drink. The crow drank deeply, quenching his thirst. Satisfied and proud of his clever solution, he flew away, leaving the pitcher behind. The moral of the story is that necessity is the mother of invention. With creativity and persistence, even the most difficult problems can be solved. In a small village, a farmer and his family lived peacefully with their pet mongoose. This is the story of trust and misunderstanding. One day, the farmer's wife left their baby in the care of the mongoose while she went to fetch water. While she was away, a deadly snake entered the house, slithering towards the baby. The brave mongoose fought and killed the snake, saving the baby. When the farmer's wife returned, she saw the mongoose at the door with blood on its mouth and paws. Jumping to conclusions, she assumed the mongoose had harmed her baby. In a fit of rage, she threw a heavy pot at the mongoose, killing it instantly. Rushing inside, she found the baby safe and sound next to the dead snake. Realizing her mistake, she wept for the loss of the loyal mongoose. The moral of the story is that hasty actions and jumping to conclusions can lead to tragic consequences. It's important to gather all the facts before making decisions. In a quiet vineyard, a hungry fox roamed, searching for something to eat. This is the story of how the fox dealt with his unfulfilled desire. One hot summer's day, the fox saw a bunch of ripe, juicy grapes hanging from a vine. His mouth watered at the sight. Determined to have them, he leaped high into the air, trying to reach the grapes. Again and again, he jumped, but the grapes were just out of his reach. Exhausted and frustrated, the fox finally gave up. He walked away, muttering to himself, "Those grapes are probably sour anyway." Though he tried to console himself, the fox's stomach grumbled, and he continued his search for food elsewhere. The moral of the story is that it's easy to despise what you cannot have. Rather than admitting defeat, people often rationalize their failures by pretending they didn't want the prize in the first place. In a lush forest by a river, a monkey lived happily on a mango tree. Across the river lived a cunning crocodile. This is the story of how the monkeys would saved his life. One day, The crocodile's wife craved monkey's heart for dinner and asked her husband to fetch one. The crocodile, seeing the monkey enjoying juicy mangoes, devised a plan. "Hello, friend monkey," said the crocodile. "Would you like to come to my home for a feast?" The monkey, trusting the crocodile, agreed and climbed onto the crocodile's back. Midway across the river, the crocodile revealed his true intentions. "My wife wants to eat your heart." The monkey, quick thinking, replied, "Oh, dear friend, I wish you had told me earlier. I left my heart back on the tree." The crocodile, gullible, swam back to the tree. The monkey leaped to safety, saying, "You tricked me once, but never again. You will not get my heart or my friendship." The crocodile swam away, ashamed of his deceit. The moral of the story is that intelligence and quick thinking can save you from even the most dangerous situations. Trust must be earned, not given lightly. In a peaceful forest, a rabbit and a tortoise lived as neighbors. This is a story about how slow and steady can indeed win the race. The rabbit, known for his speed, often boasted about how fast he could run. The tortoise, tired of the rabbit's arrogance, decided to challenge him to a race. "You challenge me?" laughed the rabbit. "This will be a piece of cake." The race began. The rabbit dashed off, leaving the tortoise far behind. Confident of his victory, the rabbit decided to take a nap halfway through the race. Meanwhile, the tortoise kept moving, slow and steady, never stopping or giving up. Hours passed, and the rabbit woke up, realizing that the tortoise was nearing the finish line. He ran as fast as he could, but it was too late. The tortoise had already crossed the finish line. The rabbit was shocked, and the forest animals cheered for the tortoise. The tortoise smiled and said, "Slow and steady wins the race." The moral of the story is that perseverance and determination can overcome even the greatest challenges. It's not always the fastest who win, but those who keep moving forward. In the heart of a dense forest, there lived a mighty lion, the king of the jungle. This is the story of how a tiny mouse became his unlikely savior. One day, the lion was napping peacefully under a tree, basking in the warm sunlight. Suddenly, a little mouse, scurrying through the forest floor, accidentally ran over the lion's paw. Startled from his sleep, the lion trapped the mouse under his massive paw. "How dare you disturb my sleep?" roared the lion, baring his sharp teeth. "Please, mighty lion, spare my life," squeaked the mouse. "If you let me go, I promise to repay you kindness one day." The lion laughed at the idea of the tiny mouse helping him, but decided to let the mouse go. "Run away, little one, and don't disturb me again," he said, releasing the mouse. Days later, the lion found himself caught in a hunter's net. Despite his strength, he couldn't break free. Roaring in frustration, he heard a familiar squeak. The little mouse he had spared came running. "Don't worry, my friend," said the mouse. Using his sharp teeth, the mouse knotted the ropes until the lion was free. "You saved my life," said the lion, humbled. "I see now that even the smallest creature can be of great help." The moral of the story is that no act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted. Even the smallest friend can prove to be the most valuable. Like, share, subscribe and follow for more. Enjoy!